what up? You're listening to Locked On NBA Draft. It's your host, Rafael Barlow. Got a special guest, and it's actually a story that I've been wanting to hear for years, and I'll just give a brief, summary. So it was 2016-17. I was living in Europe, and I was working with a friend of mine that played for Fenerbahce, and they played a team in Greece. And after the game, I asked my friend Epi, I was like, yo, who's this Mike James dude? And he was like, yo, he just said, yo, that's Mike James, as if like, you don't know. And as a person that, considers myself a basketball junkie, I was trying to figure out, like, why do I not know who this dude is? Like, he's unstoppable at getting to the rim or whatever. So ever since then, I've been like a big fan and just kind of been following the journey. So thank you, Mike James, for coming on as a guest. So this is like a big deal to me.
Nice words right there. Hopefully I can live up to that.
Nah, man, like I said, I lived in Europe, so I know you're like a legend over there. And for the audience that doesn't know, like they're just, learning your name, you've had like a crazy journey from JUCO to Lamar to Europe. You worked your way to the highest level in Europe, went to the NBA and back. And then now you're on a title contender. So the show is like about the NBA draft, but I wanted to do shows on different guys called Undrafted. In your opinion, coming out of Lamar in 2012, like, why weren't you drafted?
I don't know. Nobody really just took a second look at me. I think they just kind of put me in a box and said I couldn't play point guard and just I was like a scoring two. And then back then, when I first came out, it wasn't really positionless basketball all the way yet. It was kind of either you're a one or you're a two. It wasn't a lot of combos. You know what I'm saying? It was some, but they were just like elite players. So for me, I think they just said that I really wasn't a point guard and I was too small to do it, and they just watched. They didn't really give me a chance to show them different. They didn't really come to watch it. They just kind of, somebody said it, they believed it, move on.
And that's the thing about scouting that I feel like is so crazy, because there's a lot of people that just follow the leader, and every team has tons of scouts. You were in Texas. Every team probably has 4 or 5 scouts that are within the region, and everyone dropped the ball on you in a sense. Now, do you think it was partly because you were overlooked, or are you a late bloomer?
I definitely got better as I got older, but I don't know. That's a tough question. I think I played well enough to get some looks in college, and for whatever reason, like I said, I didn't get them. So whatever. I mean, it didn't really bother me at the time. It doesn't really bother me now. I mean, things happen for a reason. Whatever the case may be, it was meant to happen. So moving on now.
In 2012, did you have any workouts with any NBA teams?
No, I didn't have a single one.
The reason why that's crazy to me is because I did some research, right? And half the players that were selected in the first round of the 2012 draft are out of the NBA. And these are the guys that had, like tons of, maybe not tons, but at least 30 games of footage. These are the guys that all the scouts that have been paid good money projected to be in the NBA. And here it is, 9 years later, they're out. And you're in, and you're on a contender. So take me back to like draft day. Were you expecting to hear your name called, or was it just like a normal day? How was that for you?
No, I wasn't expecting anything. Somehow, some way, like I think like Minnesota had me on their draft board, but I was like really, really late. I don't know how that happened. Somebody just told me that. But yeah, I wasn't expecting it. I didn't consider it. I don't think I watched past the first 8 picks. I think I went to sleep after that. Because I think I was on East Coast, so I think I went to sleep after that and just got ready to work out the next day. So I wasn't really worried about it.
Were you like looking at the names, or did you like read the paper the next day, see the names, like, he can't check me? Kanye had a line where he said when he was first trying to come up, he was like, are these dudes that much better than me? I mean, did you have that same feeling?
Not really. It didn't bother me that much. I mean, like I said, things happen for a reason. I didn't expect to get drafted. I didn't expect anything major to happen. So, move forward.
So take me to your journey in Europe. Like, what was the first team or first country that you started playing in?
My first season, I was in Croatia for like majority of the season. I hated it, didn't like it. I didn't really go over there with an open mind. I don't think. I think the culture shock kind of got to me, and just me being introverted by nature. I think I'm not quick to like make a lot of new friends, so it's hard for me sometimes. So you know, things happen, and I didn't have a good time over there. But I mean, as the years went by, I think it definitely worked out for me a lot more, and I think it helped me grow.
Honestly. Yeah, so that was like my next question. Like, did you know much about basketball in Europe at the time?
No, I didn't know one thing. I thought I knew stuff, but then when I got over there, it was just like, yeah, I didn't know much. I didn't know what the league situation was. I didn't know like what was going on. I just was just kind of happy to just be playing basketball, really.
Yeah, I feel like it's a different time now. And I think that every college player in your situation should have a little bit more knowledge about basketball in Europe as opposed to 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. Now, how do you feel playing in Europe has helped your game?
It's funny, me and Stat Amari, we were just talking about this on the bench like a couple of games ago. In Europe, you have to learn how to play real basketball. Like some people in the NBA get away with just being super talented or super athletic or just being like God gifted the ability to just be an athlete. In Europe, you get the players that aren't athletic, that are kind of just are mostly focused on their skill and they play basketball the right way. So when you go over there on a smaller court and there's defense in 3 seconds, if you go out there and try to out-athlete everybody, people are just going to leave you open, let you shoot wide open threes, make you show them that you can actually play basketball. And I think being in Europe makes you have to focus on, okay, he's open, let me move that there, and then extra pass here. Let me cut here. Let me come off the screen like this so I don't get trapped. Let me get rid of the ball there. It's just certain things about how to play basketball that you have to learn to be good in Europe that I think sometimes in the NBA, say, for instance, you're on a team like the Nets and you got Kyrie, KD, and James on your team. You could just sit in the corner all game and you don't really learn how to play basketball. You just sit in the corner and it's not a lot of practices. It's not a lot of time where you get to like have the ball in your hand in certain situations and know what to do with it. So you're just kind of, okay, shoot the open three. If I'm open, not, give it back to Kevin or Kai or James and just sit back in the corner. So you don't really learn how to play basketball, which really isn't a bad thing. I mean, people get paid a lot of money to sit in the corner and make threes and play defense.
Right.
But I mean, I think that's just the biggest difference. I think when you go overseas, you have to learn how to play basketball in every facet instead of just in the NBA, you have specialists where you just only do one thing, you focus on that, and you can make a killing off it, really. But
yeah, that was one of the first things I learned. So I was there that whole season, and I had worked in the G League. I had been around some NBA teams before. The practices were totally different. I mean, the first practice I went to, probably 30 minutes in, that's when practice started. Like, they did
right.
the fundamental stuff, talking 3-man weave, defensive drills, and then practice started. And, NBA practices are totally different. But I learned, like, it's probably a little bit more difficult in a sense to play in Europe than it is the NBA. And I mean, you kind of said it best. You don't really see a lot of guys in Europe that just are specialists. Like everyone has to cut. You see guys play different roles. All right, this is Raphael with NBA Draft Junkies, locked on NBA Draft. I'm back with Mike James, and I wanted to ask him about 2016-17. I struggled with it. I wasn't playing. So you went from the playoffs straight to Vegas, or did you go straight from Greece to Vegas to play in the summer league that year?
Not straight. I got home for a couple of weeks, but
okay.
I didn't do no working out in between. I kind of just went to Vegas and was ready to play. That was kind of the thing.
I feel like me and maybe a few other people recognize how hard that was because I was in Istanbul for 10 months. I think I stayed after Fener won the Turkish league. Then I think I went to like Egypt. Then I went straight from Egypt to Vegas. And I felt like I missed most of the summer league games because I was sleepy. I was tired. And so I was telling my homeboy, I was like, yo, this dude was just playing in Europe. I know his body clock has to be way off and he's killing. And I don't think he understood like how crazy it was. So like, how were you doing that, playing at such a high level? And I know your body clock had to have been off after being in Europe for like 10 months.
That's the one thing I noticed. I was just running up and down. I was tired just because it could have been body clock tired, mentally tired, physically tired. It could have been a combination of a lot of things, but I was just tired a lot during that sequence. And I remember thinking, dang, does the NBA court really bother me this much, or am I just like out of whack? And obviously during the season, I got a lot better shape, and it worked out a lot better. But at that time, I was really tired, and I was a little worried about it, honestly.
I couldn't tell. That's what I'm saying. Like, I was amazed because that was the first year for me. Summer League really changed. It was the Lonzo Ball year, and it was packed. And I used to be able to sit on like the third row. I was sitting up in the nosebleeds, and I was exhausted. I remember I couldn't eat, and I ended up running into Anthony Bennett, who was with Fener. He had lost so much weight, and he was like, man, I lost my appetite because the time difference. And I was feeling the same way. And we were at the mall, and I was like, can you believe Mike James is out here killing like he's killing? And we just kind of looked at each other like, he's different. He's different. So tell me about like that summer league experience. Was that your first experience like in the NBA?
No, that was actually my second time playing summer league. Honestly, the first time I think I didn't play the first couple games, and ended up playing the last like 3 or 4. But yeah, I think that was the first time. That was the first time I was already on the team, so it felt a lot different. It felt like it was just kind of my show. I could do whatever I wanted, and if you're on the team and you playing summer league, it's kind of like like it's kind of different than coming just playing
Right.
and not being on the team and just kind of being there. So it was a totally different experience, but I enjoyed both ways though.
Now, is it true you were on a two-way when you ended up
Yeah, I was
signing
on
with
a
Phoenix?
two-way. Yeah, I was on a two-way first.
Without getting into the specifics, like, I mean, were you just like that certain that you were ready to contribute on that level? Because I mean, that's a significant drop in money. Like, you really bet on yourself to take that two-way.
We had like a handshake type of thing that I was never going to go down to the G League. I was just going to stay with the team the whole time and then get converted over.
Gotcha.
So I mean,
that makes a big difference.
Basically, I just kind of counted as me on the minimum and just seeing how my NBA career would be, and it had its ups and downs. It had pros and cons for sure, but I definitely enjoyed the experience.
So after that, you went to New Orleans briefly, and then you went back to Europe. At that time, were you planning on staying in Europe, or did you think the NBA was over?
I just was kind of off it. I didn't really, the politics of the NBA and just stuff that was going on when I was here. I just didn't really enjoy it. I didn't enjoy my time, and I was just kind of off it. I was never really like a big like I have to play in the NBA guy anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So just like a negative experience and kind of change your whole mindset about something. And I went back to Europe and got a big deal, and I didn't really care to come back ever, honestly.
Which I was kind of shocked to see you back, even though I wanted to see you back because I felt like you're like in this unique situation where you are a star in Europe, but you have a game that's better suited for the NBA, especially with the spacing and, I'm sure like the looks you're getting in Brooklyn are a lot easier than the looks that you were getting, whether you were in Shesko or Milan. What is like the biggest adjustment from being a star in Europe to now a complimentary role in Brooklyn?
Honestly, it depends. Sometimes when I play with the second group, I have to be a little bit more aggressive than I initially thought coming over, just because, with the second group, I have to play make a lot more. Obviously, when you play with the big three, you don't have to play make as much. It's kind of like you come off a screen, pass it, go to the corner, you get it, be aggressive, and that's it. With the second group, it's a little bit more come off of screens and probe, find an open man, try to get somebody else a shot, make sure they got a good shot. And you kind of got to do more work for people to get better shots. But I mean, with the big three, they're kind of just so good that you really got to just get them the ball and they kind of figure it out for themselves.
Back to something that we touched on earlier. Do you feel like your playmaking improved significantly by playing in Europe?
For sure. I think just the reads, smaller court, so the passes, you got to make them pinpoint. Here, it's a bigger court, so I'm able to kind of manipulate better and just see things on a broader scale. And, it's a little bit easier to pass, honestly.
All right. Again, this is Raphael, Locked On NBA Draft. I have Mike James of the Brooklyn Nets. And I wanted to ask you, all right, what advice would you give a player that is coming from a mid-major that went undrafted but still has NBA dreams?
Honestly, my first advice would be, does it have to be NBA? I mean, there's a lot of people that make a lot of money and great careers just being overseas and providing for their families. So I think don't get tunnel vision on the NBA. Don't start taking too many G League years just to see if you can be in the NBA when it's millions of dollars, 500,000, 600,000 to be made in Europe that provide a great life for your family. But always work on your game. I think me and Kev joke about this a lot. You can always tell who work on their game in the summertime when they come back and when they do moves and how they read stuff and how they shot come off. Some people don't work on their game. They just go in the summer, kind of party, live up the NBA lifestyle, shoot some spot shots, and then come back in the season and think it's finna be all fun and games. But I mean, you see it when people come back every year, how they play and what changes and what they added. So I mean, that would be the main thing. Just work on your game. Don't be satisfied. And I don't care if you went over in EuroLeague and averaged 25 and 8. Work on your game. You can still average 30 and 10. You can still get your free throw percentage up. You can still get your percentages up. You can still get more steals. You can still play better defense. It's always something you can work on. And that would basically be that's my advice basically to everybody.
That's funny because I don't know where I heard it from. And like I said, I've been following your story since I first saw you play. But someone told me that your work ethic is crazy, like a legendary work ethic. What's a typical day like for you in the summer?
To be honest, I don't know how crazy. I think people like to make up stuff, but I mean, I'm like an 8 a.m. person that wake up. I'm not a big breakfast either, so I'm like a bottle of water on the way to go work out. Normally it's like 8:30 to 10:30, 9 to 11, some type of body workout, like 2 hours. Like a shake in between that, like an hour break, and then go to the court. Probably get like an hour and a half on the court, and then play only play like full court 2s, full court 3s, something like that.
But you know that's not normal, right?
What, full court 2s, full court 3s? It's not that bad. It's it'd be like 4 teams, so it's not like straight just 2 teams. It's not like 4 teams, so you get a little break. It's not that bad.
But I mean, it's still not normal. I mean, I know you're kind of downplaying because when you said the 2 hours on the body, like I've worked with NBA players, I've trained NBA players. Some guys are 2 hours for the day. They're done. They do an hour strength and conditioning. They shoot, in May or June, you're not getting much action. You're getting a lot of spot ups. I made a joke today. Like I really enjoy working out with guys that are doing pre-draft stuff because you can say, I need you to give me a down and back and I'm throwing you 5 lobs and they'll do it. A vet is like, nah, man, I'm just shooting these I'm shooting these set shots. I'm just
people
trying
don't
to
work on that game. I'm trying to.
And so for you to say, I mean, just doing the math, that's like 6 hours.
It's like 9 to 11 work, and then like 12 to 2, 12 to 2:30, something like that. I get home about 3 every day, and then I'm done for the day though, so it works out perfect.
But that's still like you're
Actually
clocking
like
in
that.
like a
I
9 to
actually
5.
like the I actually like the 8 to 10, 11 to 1 setting, so I can get home at like 2, 2:30. That actually works better for me, but
So,
that 8 o'clock starting time don't always work out with my sleep schedule.
all right. So, when did you add that crazy scoop floater to your game? Scoop floater off the wrong leg, I should say.
Probably 5 years ago, 6 years ago, something like that, probably. Yeah,
And
5 or 6, probably.
and that's an example of like working on your game, because I mean it seems like it could be an instinctual move, but that's something it looks like you worked on, because you have to have like put in the work to shoot, especially in the EuroLeague game. I don't think the average fan knows how important every single possession is in the EuroLeague game, and that's not a setting where you try stuff out. So I figure you must have put a lot of work in on your shot to shoot that in the game.
I mean, yeah. I mean, you got to work on everything. You can't just try to start pulling stuff out and think it's gonna work. So most of the stuff I try in games, I work on. It's always a couple things that you just kind of fall into doing, but I mean, most of the stuff I try in games, I work on a lot. So I mean, you got to prepare for each situation. I think that I kind of just got that because I'm short, and it kind of just works real well for me. I'm not the best at overhand floaters, so the underhand for some reason just is more of my thing. So
From deep though.
yeah, I mean, yeah, it got further and further as I got better at it, but that's it started real close.
Are you looking forward to this first playoff experience?
Yeah, I'm looking to see what happens, how it goes. Really, I mean, anything can happen, but I'm excited to get started.
I bet, and I imagine that you're probably won't be as nervous, because I feel like I've been to the Final Four, I've been to EuroLeague playoffs, and NBA playoffs are nowhere near as intense. I feel like Game 7 of the NBA Finals is probably the equivalent of, maybe it's not a Pana and Olympiacos game for sure.
Nah, I mean, they're definitely two different vibes, but I mean, nah, I'm not really nervous. I'm more just ready to get started, honestly.
I bet. Well, man, I appreciate you taking the time out. I know you got playoffs on the way and, busy schedule. So I appreciate you taking the time out for telling your story on Locked On NBA Draft. For those that are listening, where can they find you at as far as like on social media?
Oh, I think my Instagram is Mr. Natural _05, and I think my Twitter is The Natural _05.
I don't feel
I'm
bad.
pretty sure.
I'm the same way.
I'm pretty sure.
My Twitter, everything is supposed to be the same and all linked up. My Twitter is different than my Instagram and all of that. So eventually I need to change it. But
yeah, I missed it. I messed it up. It's all right.
Well, cool, man. Thanks again. I appreciate you coming on. Once again, this is Rafael Barlow, Locked On NBA Draft Junkies with Mike James, and we are out.